Live on the radio, whoa, 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 and the YouTubes. I wish I could know what the YouTube link was before we got this far, and I could already have it set up to send out to the old stock Twitters and the Twitterverse. Live TA rapport with your homies, me, GP, and JFDI, right? That's your handle.
Yes, sir.
And SPY and QQQ and Bitcoin. There we go. Bam. Pow. Done. Now that the housekeeping's done and I twatted the twat out on the stock twats.
How come I don't see it?
I don't know. I just did it.
All right.
StockTwits definitely has
I
a
added
lag.
you.
Oh, they could just updated their. Oh man, they just update their platform and all. It looks all weird now.
It's been updated for a minute.
Oh.
You had the option to not see it or to see the new version, and I like the old version because there's like 47 million tickers everywhere.
Yeah, holy shit! They're just like all over the place.
Yeah,
You can switch back.
It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. Anyway, I don't want to get stuck on talking about the old
Oh yeah.
the old stock twats over here. We love our stock twits community, but hi guys. Nick, welcome back. I'm glad that you are overcoming I guess it was the flu you had. I don't want to put your personal business out there, but you were sick with something and we're glad you're back.
Yes, yeah, it was something. It was flu or something. It wasn't. I mean, I took a COVID test. It wasn't COVID. I think the flu is just kind of going around, or at least up here.
It is. So stay healthy.
Yeah.
Keep the portfolio healthy, because GP said he wasn't going to do this show if it was bearish bags again for like a month straight. And unfortunately, it's bearish bags still.
That kind of sucks.
How about moderately less bearish bags, if that helps at all?
Sure. Whatever works for you, buddy.
So will you go bullish on that trend line break? Is that what you're waiting for?
So like there's some good looking stuff out there today. Today on Charts for Charity, I did all my monthlies and weeklies, and there's some pretty decent stuff out there. But looking at specifically what we all love is some tech, some semiconductors, some individual names. Not looking the hottest still, but you've got like the XLV that's broken out, right? You've got XLF that's broken out. You've got XLI in the Dow that's broken out, right? So as you weren't with us last week, Nick, but I kind of was. They can help the rest of the market end up catching their breath and catching the ground underneath them and propel them to some degree.
Sure.
Maybe tech not as much, but if the rest of the tide is rising, those boats shouldn't sink. I didn't say it so eloquently last week, but that was kind of my 2 cents.
Sure.
So there are some good things out there, but then you've got Amazon doesn't look great. And GP is probably going to yell at me and say it does. Apple doesn't look great. Microsoft doesn't look great. The XLG doesn't look great. XLY doesn't look great. XLK doesn't look great. So I mean, I keep going down the lists, right? XLE we've talked about for months, it seems, on end. Toppy could be. We'll see.
Cup and handle.
So yeah, I mean, it could be. It could be.
Yeah, I know.
But gold, right? Gold is, had a nice rebound and back up toward highs. There's just a lot of mixed signals. And when I see the mixed signals, it does in 2022, it hasn't been profitable to
right.
be bullish when you're getting mixed signals. Anyway, so there's why I'm less than bullish bag. I'll put it that way. I'm not bearish bags. I'm less than bullish bags. I'll hang up and listen.
Solars.
Netflix.
We know Netflix is going to be the call.
Only 100% move from the bottoms. It's it's also gotten destroyed, so I'm not arguing that. But Apple, as I said last week, Apple still concerns me as talked about since the beginning of the year. The way Netflix earnings went in January is the way the markets are going to go, right? And sure enough, Netflix died twice over, and the markets have died many times over. So the theory still kind of holds true for me is Netflix is your bull market leader and it's trying to lead, but your market leader is saying, yeah, I don't know if I want to participate right now. So while spending the entire year being strong, all of a sudden is now being one of the weaker names, right? And that's what some of the China stuff and China easing still hasn't helped Apple. And Apple has done a lot to move a lot of operations out of China to other countries like Philippines, Vietnam, India, etc. So they're trying to mitigate their production issues that they've had with China, but yet it's still what was relatively strong is now kind of relatively weak, where almost everything had like a green week last week. Apple still had a red one, and you're like, huh?
Yep.
And
I've got the Netflix chart up. I mean, it's just stair stepping into the new millennium, right? Like, just keep on going, baby. And like, I don't want to be overly pessimistic. It's not my it's not who I am. It's not how I process information. But at the same time, again, yeah, Netflix looks good. But I pull up.
But no, hold on. Stay on Netflix
right?
for a second, right?
Pull up that chart, and there's nothing there to write home about. But we'll go back to Netflix.
Go back to Netflix for a second, right? Because I obviously talk about this quite often, and this is as probably as technical as Netflix has been in its freaking history, right? And that is the conversation that I wanted to sort of have is like, it used to be very kind of super gappy and only on earnings and all that. And that was part of being in a growth stock, right? You had to be in it through the bad and the good. Whereas now it's kind of swapping from like a growth to more of it's not a value by any means, but swapping from that growth sector of phase of its career more to like the value kind of like, this is now going to start trading more on like fundamentals, right? And fundamentals is they're still doing $30 billion a year in revenue, and they're working on growing that, and they've shown stuff. So it's doing it in a way that I haven't seen Netflix do in a really long time. It's basing for 6 months and then moving higher and then going up, coming down, going up, coming down, right? It's actually acting like a normal stock. And it's still shaking people out. And look, we based in from like April's earnings to almost July earnings for 3 months sideways, and then earnings were good, so it moved up a bit, right? And then based in a very tight range in from July to October earnings, and then we moved up, right? And now we've been basing, and you can see that the time frames are starting to get smaller on these bases because people have accumulated bigger on the bigger bases, and now it's starting to kind of play out. And one misstep and Netflix will get punched in the face as it normally does, but
right.
It's one of the few mega cap kind of tech names that's sitting above all its moving averages, on top of all the moving averages being aligned. The famous Duzio Huckleberries, right? it's Apple isn't, Tesla isn't. There's not a single one out there that is working through this technically. So I actually am liking how this is happening. I'm always expecting Netflix to do crazy moves, but it's not the same stock anymore, right? So it's nice to see. But Apple is the market leader, and that one's acting like poop on fire. So it is mixed signals. I won't argue that, because those are my key ones that I watch, and they're not acting the way it is. I do like how Tesla is acting here, even though everyone wants to short it. And as you can see, the news cycle on Tesla is starting to improve because Twitter's getting back its advertisers, and so it's just, it all goes hand in hand with these news cycles, right? It gets insanely bearish when they want to sell it down, and it gets insanely bullish when they want to mark it up.
Of course. And fair point on Netflix being your market indicator and old leaders, right? Fair point. But then, right, like there's just a lot of different individual names, whether they're in my FMAGA camp or whatever, that aren't looking so hot. But I went across the sectors earlier and they look pretty good. So again, it's more mixed signals than it is comparing Amazon or Apple to Netflix. Just for my 2 cents.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's possible that Apple, as I said, every leader has to fall. Apple is the last leader to fall, but no one's going to care, right? Like the rest of the market's already shrugging off.
That's kind of what
What's that?
It's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, looking at the Apple weekly chart, it has held up the best, but a lot of the sell bars are, I counted like 13 sell bars on above average weekly volume over the course of like the last, basically year and a half. And I was kind of going to ask you this in terms of distribution, was maybe what we're seeing in Apple is like on a longer time frame distribution versus like it actually holding up that well. And
yeah,
to kind of to your point, like I think for them it to be the last to fall, I think it would be like, if it does, I think it would be great. It's going to drag the queues with it, but I think
it's going to drag everything.
Incredible. No, I don't think so. I think it'll be the opportunity where we get to see like what the next cycle market leaders are truly going to be, because those names are gonna hold. We can throw a few darts. Oh, go ahead.
No, just to answer your question real quick.
Yeah.
The conversation about Apple being distribution, we talked about it last week as well. What I said last week is it looks like Tesla right before it dropped 50%.
Yeah.
Right. So very kind of similar chart setups and stuff like that. And to be honest, Tesla's drop didn't destroy the markets.
Right.
So Apple's drop is possible that it won't destroy the markets and that this is like regime change. And I think I talked about this a month ago, is like we're at that point where we're going to start to see good stocks be good stocks and bad stocks be really bad stocks, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think you're going to start to see it in the same line as you, is like the bifurcation between, Carvana and Peloton, right? If you look at the Peloton chart, there's a lot of accumulation going on in Peloton, and it's acting well. And yes, it's like 90% off the highs, but if you forget past history on how stocks are behaving and look at the last 6 to 12 months,
but
it's starting to act better. So like even out of the crap,
starting to see stocks go like stage 1 into stage 2.
Yeah, but even in the name of crap stocks, you're starting to see the difference between the crap stocks and the really crappy stocks.
I gotta jump in though. Like Apple falling is completely different than Tesla falling. Apple is 7% of the S&P. Tesla's like 2. All right. So like let's not act like Apple still doesn't hold a lot of weight and sway, and when the market hiccups or Apple hiccups, the market has some type of reaction to that.
It will, but like what I what I
And I'm not
think-
saying Tesla's. I'm not going to say it's going to have a drop like Tesla and go down 50%.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think that's going to
I
happen
don't-
on Apple.
But the 200-week moving average is probably where everything else is touched. Why wouldn't Apple touch it, right?
That's $100 down from here.
No, but you're on the monthly, bud.
Oh yeah, my bad. That's $35 down from here.
Yeah, it's like
That's right
111.
in line with that. Yeah, I would totally. I'm in that camp. I do think Apple, kind of where I would foresee it going is basically that 100 to 110 range.
Yeah, and what I
Yeah.
can see happening is Apple will cause market mayhem overnight, right? Let's say, or pre-market, and everything will drop with Apple, and then you will start to see the things get bought up, right? Like,
Yeah.
that I think that's what Nick's talking about, is you're going to start to see the separation is like, okay, Apple drops, S&P drops like 1%, and by, like, for example, on Friday, right, the whole market dropped, and then you started to see the ones who are going to start standing out.
Yeah, there'll be something that'll be accumulated, right? Like I full recognize that, right? Like if Apple drops 1%, there's going to be things that don't drop 1%, and some things that are going to be green. Like I get that, but as the market as a whole, if Apple sinks 1%, it's a red day in the Qs and in the S&P. Like they're not going to be green.
It
right?
depends on what Tesla does here, right? I think what Tesla's 2% of the S&P.
Yeah.
So if Tesla, last time Tesla did this was 2013 to 2019 consolidation timeframe for Tesla. Within 8 to 9 weeks, Tesla doubled from its lows. So from our lows, I think it was 160 for Tesla. That's a 300. That's a move to the 320 by January. So even if I think if that happens, then a lot of the Apple weighting would change. And you see how they held up Apple while they destroyed while they destroyed Tesla. It could be the vice versa, right? That Tesla rises and Apple dies. Or Microsoft starts. Microsoft actually looks good. I know you said it didn't look good, but
relatively speaking.
Yeah, it looked good. It closed pretty strong every dip got bought last week. And the week
Don't get me wrong,
before.
there are worse charts than Microsoft.
And it's looking like it's going to push to the top of that channel. And if we push to the top of that channel in Microsoft and we break out, that's another one that will mitigate Apple's drop, right? But yeah, it's stuff to watch, right? Ultimately, it's all about the dollar to me. So
yes,
and the dollar is doing exactly what I thought it was going to do.
Dying a slow and painful death.
And I love the arguments that we see on stock twists, like, well, now that the dollar is dying, it's also bad for inflation and all this stuff. And I'm like, just trade the pair, right? Like, please, like, it's so far in 2020, dollar has been strong, markets have been weak. Now, if dollar is weak, assume that the markets are strong. And if they're not, then you can worry about it. But
yeah,
so far, dollar has been weak. Markets have been strong.
So again, somewhat less than bullish bags. Like I'm not full on bearish bags. I just, again, it's mixed signals, and everything that we've gone over for the last 10 minutes is mixed signals.
I don't think as an overall whole they are, personally, but that's me. I was fairly bearish at the beginning of the year, and Netflix just continued to confirm that. And Netflix right now is saying that we're still going to be bullish. So Apple may do its thing, but Netflix. So like last couple of weeks I've been talking about Netflix. I'm like, it won't fill that gap. I'm really concerned about it, but it's not breaking down either.
Yeah.
Right. So it's doing what I was talking about earlier, which is transitioning from growth to more value.
Joe G was really wrong on that price target of below 190.
Yeah, and people have been wrong about Netflix for quite some time, unless you're Wolf Street and you're a troll.
I'm gonna take Joe's name off there. That's no fair to him anymore.
Yes. I don't know. I personally think Amazon looks like crap, but it's
Yeah.
also on a 3-week tight pattern.
Nick, we were
Yeah.
on 3-week tight like none other last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
like our ode to you. Everything we were pulling up was 3-week tight.
We
Nice.
talked about the Q 3-week tight, and I think I nudged like bags maybe like 1.25% towards the bull level.
You did. I was firmly bearish bags, and then I became somewhat less bearish bags, and now I'm somewhat less than bullish bags. So see, there's a spectrum that
But
I'm on.
look at that, right? Like you're looking at that chart, and it's 3 weeks tight under the weekly 21, and 3 weeks tight under the weekly 21. Week 4 we're through, right? So it's the canceling approach. So a lot of the things that should be lining up is like, yeah, we're gonna have dips and we're gonna have stuff that's a normal market, right? Like Friday's job report, to have that kind of dip was this was so stupid, but it was also very expected because everyone was so bulled up going into that Friday. Like it was like, yeah, they're gonna screw us because that's what they're that's the
Well,
main-
I was twatting back and forth with our friend Monkey Banana Genius. He's changed his name a dozen times, so I don't know what he is now, but it's like, it's fucking ridiculous at this point that bad news in the world is good news, and good news in the world is bad news. And it's just, we're in the upside down still. Nick, I did want to talk to I want to change it up real quick. I did want to talk to you about your drugs. I was looking at the XBI, and there's a whole lot of going on there with the XBI that looks really promising. That was one thing that I was not as negative about.
The IBB broke out.
IBB, yeah.
The IBB did.
Yeah.
XBI
Gilead is just nuts.
It is
insane.
Yeah. 10 years of nothing,
that's
and then
stupid.
Just
Like, let's look at the monthly of this guy. Look at that.
what is that? Almost 10 years of nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. What about dividends?
Sorry, Nick.
Yeah.
Drugs.
All of them. Pills. Pop them.
Are we talking about recreational or
what names
Yeah, well,
do you like? You've been sitting in XBI for quite a while.
Yeah,
or Labu, right? I think you did the 3X.
Yeah. VRTX, Regen.
Still Vertex.
I like REGN quite a bit. UTHR, I still like. What are some of the smaller names?
how's Oprah doing?
How's what?
Oprah.
Oprah.
That's a symbol, but I think it's called something else. Duzio always talks about it.
Yeah,
Oprah
there's a bunch
Limited.
of like the genomic names are starting to shape up too. I wanted to pull up ARC. I haven't looked at
ARC-G.
ARC in a while. Yeah, I was kind of curious. Let's see here.
I won't say what it looks like.
I like Duzio's Legion, LEGN.
Halo.
SRPT looked phenomenal. Also broke out last week.
Halo really broke out. Holy
Halo
crap.
broke out. Yeah, I have Halo in my wife's account. I have a little bit of ABCL. Beam, I thought looked pretty good. BEEM. What was it? BAAM? I don't remember now. Oh, I was thinking of wrong one. Beam. I typed in the wrong ticker. Yeah, SRPT was another one of my favorites. VRTX, it's not moving as fast or as hard as I would have liked. It's been kind of a wild hold, but
Are we not talking about ABBV?
ABBV, yeah.
Oh,
Pretty.
Ooh, off that falling wedge into the trend line.
Really pretty.
Ooh.
Yep. They all look. I mean, I think you could pretty much. I don't want to say throw a dart, but
You can.
There's just a lot.
You can play pin the tail on the donkey here, and wherever you spun around and stuck the donkey tail to the wall, you'd be a
Like
winner.
even Moderna looks like it's about to go stage 2.
Yes.
Like
it looks like it is ready.
It's a really pretty looking daily and weekly chart.
Yeah, I like Moderna a lot. And I think that might be a good catch-up play. Right? Because all these other ones have broken out, and chances are this is going to go with it.
Yeah.
In the conversation of HZNP.
Yeah.
Look at that right above the volume shell flagging. That's nice. Which one did you say there, GP?
HZNP. Yeah.
I'm sorry. What was the ticker?
HZNP.
HZM.
N is Nancy.
P. Got it. Oh my God.
Yeah. Right into volume zone. Like this is the chart.
33%. Wow.
But bags, like if you're looking at like the volume, like profiles and stuff like that, like you can look at even some of the text, like everything pulled back into their volume profiles, and then they added more volume into the volume profiles, right? Creating a even more solid base from here.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing a lot of that, and they're basing off the retest, and they're pushing up.
What and this is for me more than anything, not for our listeners. So if you're not me, you can turn off the podcast now. I kind of think I'm going to put some more into Labu as opposed to Moderna.
I almost did.
I thought about Moderna, but I feel like LABU might be my catch-up play here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not going to play individual names, you definitely
But
sure.
You need it to trend, right? Because if XPI does not start trending higher,
yes,
Labu will deteriorate faster, right?
So yeah. No, 1,000%. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But for me, in my own account, I was going to take on one of these since I did all my charts today, and I really liked Moderna as a potential catch-up play. And I still like Moderna, but I kind of think that the play might be, if the rest of the sector is going up, it's good old LABU. I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, the IBB is definitely my favorite.
It's the stronger one, right? The mega cap bios are outperforming.
Yeah, we mentioned that 2 weeks ago and last week again. Johnson & Johnson, Lilly, for Christ's sake, you just stop, can't stop. Anyway.
Yeah,
I hadn't looked at
just makes me feel dirty.
Right.
Pfizer.
I mean, again, not to go. This is nothing. We don't even need to discuss like the conspiracy theory.
This chart is murking the competition. Look at that.
And look, Sage is another one that looks like it's playing catch up.
Sorry, Nick, I was rude and cut you off.
MRTX is another. Not to like, we don't need to go on the conspiracy theory. Like the consequences of how COVID was handled and the effect that it has had on everyone is going to be far reaching. And we're also at a place where like this intersection of health and science and technology, like I think that we're just in such a place that's so ripe for like everything medicine still. Like I don't think that I don't think these drugs are going anywhere.
No.
So some of the cheaper ones too, like even like, Pac B, that's like one of the biggest winners I have in like my Roth. Yeah.
Kathy's stock.
That's a big Kathy.
Whole retest. Holy crap.
Like a lot of, I mean, just basically when you're like,
that's a pretty
whoever who's ever listening, like when you're running your scans, just look for stocks that are even if they're beaten down, look for ones that have at least gone stage 1 and are ready to go stage 2, you know, like that have like these nice long bases.
So I'm gonna
Kinda
sell
Maybe-
all of my Apple, and I'm going straight in LABU.
What about financials?
The financials look great too. I said they broke out.
So like that's a full retest of the base on
Yeah.
financials of 13 years. So financials have the potential to look like FSLR in a few months.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure.
I really like Morgan. Morgan Stanley looks tough to me.
Goldman on the monthly, my gosh.
Goldman looks
Yeah.
great. Flagging, right? Like Goldman's almost back to all-time highs. I don't like the money centers as well, but JP Morgan's been on a tear. Bank of America not quite as strong. But then you got something like this, like Ally, right? Ally is just like languishing, but you got some positive divergence there.
City's crap too.
Yes, it, as my friend iDog says, shitty bank.
Yes, and Wells Fargo is not great, but Goldman, the leader, is the leading. So
Yep.
cares about
Schwab
anything else?
actually looks really good too. Schwab chart looks tough.
Mhm. Can we also talk about shop at some point?
I would love to talk about shop and the entire retail cohort at some point. Yeah.
Because I think that's so what I was looking at, and Macy's is the one that really showed up on my radar on a long-term chart, and I'm like, holy crap, this looks amazing, right? Like, and it's not your traditional amazing, but if you pull this down to like the monthly,
Oh, have you looked at Interactive Brokers chart, by the way?
I haven't looked at it in a minute.
Look at the weekly of the IBKR. Or of IBKR.
Wow.
Kind of same thing with Goldman. Like it's basically back at all-time highs.
Wow. I didn't realize it was doing that well.
I don't like that chart. Why do I not like that chart? What the hell?
I don't like the 4 tops there. But I didn't expect it to be at all-time highs. I haven't looked at this in a minute, so I did not expect that.
Holy crap. Do me a favor, add the volume and go back to the weekly on you're on the weekly, yeah. There's a lot of distribution on this chart since 2018. Like there's a lot of red volume spikes. I don't know why I don't like this one. Nick, I see what you see is like I see what you see is like it looks like it's about to break out, but
Yeah. I have it in my list of I have it in my list of like names with like my financial stuff. Like Goldman.
yeah, it looks like a lot of distribution, right? Like if you're looking at that chart first glance, all I see is red.
If you had told me before I pulled this chart up, guess Interactive Brokers price right now, I would have been like $65.
Okay.
But $78, that's, I mean, it actually did take out all-time high. No, it didn't. So yeah, it's just a breath away.
Wait, so it got all the way back to near all-time highs and did not do it? Is this another Lamb research?
So this is where we're at right here. This is all-time high last December 27th of 2021. And it hit the wall at $81.
That September volume bar is a warning shot to me on the weekly. That I don't know. Yeah. I see what you're saying, Nick. To my like gut instinct after looking at charts over the years is I don't like where this is going. It might go higher a little bit, but I think it's coming lower.
Wait till it hits all-time highs if you're gonna enter.
Yeah, like this is
Yeah,
the case for a lot of things, right?
for sure.
Let's go back though.
Yeah.
Before we jump back to
Interesting. I'll add to my watch
IBKR.
list because I'm curious how this plays
We
out.
were on retail. You're talking about Macy's GP.
Yeah, so like this Macy's chart, I think is fantastic, right? Like it had a low in 2008, came back and retested that low. And look at the volume that showed up, right? Look at
God,
and
why does retail look so good? Jesus.
because the consumers are actually strong and everyone's still talking about the recession that's coming, but I just don't like people are still buying, right? Like
We're still spending.
yeah, and I think people are getting more diligent about their choices and what they spend on.
They're clearly buying Lululemon pants.
Yes, exactly. Look at that chart. It's amazing that that's held up.
I know. Damn.
Right? If you were like, hey guys, we're about to hit recession, one of the worst recessions since like the great financial crisis is upon us. Is this where you would expect Lululemon?
No. Yeah, right.
I would be like slightly less than bullish bags would say, but there's some negative divergence.
Sure. And look at Ulta, right?
Yeah, Ulta's been really strong.
Yeah.
This is
Oh, that was such a pretty breakout too.
yeah, and it's just it's a miserable trader, but this is you keep telling me, not you guys, but as a whole, as a community, Fintuit keeps telling me there's this massive recession coming, and I think they base it on the inversion curve, right? And in 2022, in a year of historical everythings, right? We've never seen these types of moves and then they happen. We've never seen these types of moves and they happen. They continue to say that because the yield curve is inverted, we're definitely gonna have the worst recession ever.
Recession already happened in 2021 and 2022. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're already recessed.
Yeah, like they're gonna come out and be like, "Oh, we were in a recession." Everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, duh."
We were. Didn't they change the definition?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, if your narrative is all those things that we talked about above, and then you look at the charts of some of these things like Ulta and Lululemon and some of the high end or retailers, and then you're looking at Macy's, which is low end, and they're shifting to e-com. And you look at Walmart. Walmart ate that gap up like it didn't even gap down 20% as a blue chip stock. Right? Look, Walmart filled that gap like it was nothing. Target's still struggling, but Walmart filled that gap like it was nothing. And so I don't know. The charts are telling me a different story
So
than the
should
narrative.
I go out and just buy a whole bunch of Target?
I don't like the distribution, but
Yeah, I don't either.
yeah. But look at Walmart. Compare. Right? That's almost back at all-time highs, right? Like, what? There's a lot of huh moments when you look at these charts.
How about JC Penney? What's that? What's I'm joking. I'm joking. Just jokes. Did you say you wanted to look at shop though, GP?
I did. And so like this is we talked about retail, right? So this is to me is you had, if you go back to 2020, right?
This is thousands of storefronts right here.
Yeah. Scroll back a bit more.
How far?
On the weekly, just back to 2020, right? So you had this kind of base that formed in 2020 and it just went bananas all in 2021 with that free money crap. And then we came back and we retested that kind of base from 2019 to 2020 in shop. And I know it's red volume, but look at where the volume showed up. It didn't show up on the move 80% move down. It all showed up down here, right back in the base. This is what we were talking about, what I was talking about earlier, is like they're reaccumulating down here. And they're reaccumulating in decent amounts here. And yes, we're in a base, we're at the top of the base, so the risk is to the upside here. But if the top of the base does break out, then the risk is to the downside. But this looks good. It finally, after 12 months, closed above the 200-day moving average. There's a trend change happening here. So to me, I'd be looking, if you haven't, I'd be looking for pullbacks to like the closer to the bottom of the range for buying, right? Like they're telling you that we are accumulating down here.
That's reasonable.
And that accumulation can last years, or it can last 6 months, or we don't know when that accumulation is going to break. Look, FSLR accumulated for 10 years, broke out, and then died, and then broke out even better. So there's a lot of ways that things can play out. This is a aggregation of e-commerce, right, as a whole. And I found it really interesting that Shop diverged quite a bit from Amazon the last couple of weeks.
It just looks like dog vomit.
It does, but it's still 3 weeks tight, and 3 weeks tight is a canceling bullish setup. Whether it works out or not is whether it works out or not is a different question.
You're tugging on my heartstrings here.
It's a bullish setup. It had a big reversal bar off that what was it, CPI data, right? I believe that weekly CPI data, and then it's put in 3 weeks tight. So if you are ignoring the rest of the chart, you had a big reversal bar off less than high inflation, and then we've been tight for 3 weeks.
So the homie Tom Lee, who's a big fan of the podcast, by the way, he tweeted about an hour ago that we're at face ripper support.
What does that mean?
Well, he's talking about gasoline's 65% price surge is now gone. We're basically about 1% up year over year, and in the height during the summer we were 65% higher year over year on the price of gasoline. So he's using that as since a lot of inflation has been gas prices, he's saying that it's time for a face ripper, which, you know, surprise, surprise, our good friend Tom is bullish. But I do think that comes back to what we've been saying for, it seems like, an infinite period of time, why we don't like crude, and we haven't liked crude, and what's the disconnect between crude, right, and the energy sector, because that chart just looks like garbage.
So I think the disconnect is that everyone in energy believes that crude will be higher 1 to 2 years from now, right? So they're supporting it's a swap, right? Like, so inflation might come down short term, but it's a long-term problem. So XLE should continue to outperform over time is the conversation here. And XLE is acting well. I can't argue that. It does look toppy on the daily, but on the weekly, it does look like a cup and handle. It's diverged from oil like crazy, but now look, China's easing, right? And I think that was the anticipation here, is that China eases, we have more consumption of oil, so it should go back up, demand increases, right? But isn't there an OPEC meeting tomorrow? Virtual OPEC meeting or something?
Is it tomorrow? I know it's this week.
Or tonight? December 4th, I think.
Oh, it's right now, probably.
I don't know, I'm looking it up. Says something about holding a virtual meeting,
Sunday, December 4th.
which they might cut production.
Well, 12 hours ago, they have agreed to stick to the existing policy of reducing oil production ahead of Russia.
Okay.
So that was 12 hours ago, but so maybe it already happened.
Yeah, maybe. I wasn't paying attention. It's the weekend.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
We've been asked to go over Costco.
Yeah, we were asked to go over Costco. Darrain, our good friend, said Costco. And what I don't like about the Costco chart is it's failed breakout. Failed breakouts become fast moves the opposite way.
Yes,
As
and
we've
on heavier
learned.
volume.
And that big red bar looks ugly.
Costco shut me up, right? I was like, oh, look, it's break. Yeah, and then it died.
Yeah, mixed signals get you every time.
It could just be down to the trend line and back up, right? So
It could be.
lows.
It could be. I posted the chart that I was working on, and I'll pull that one up too. That had a trend line further back. Just for full disclosure, I keep multiple templates up of charts, and the clean one I try to just have with our conversations on them.
Yeah.
So this is like my daily of Costco. So it could absolutely pull back into the trend line. You know, it wouldn't be the end of the world if it went down another $30. I think that would probably be an opportunity. Not my favorite chart in the retail sector, though.
No, but it's also held up better than most retail.
It absolutely has. And you cannot go wrong with Costco's management.
Yep.
Nicholas, what say you? You've been quiet.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think I thought it looked great too, and then all of a sudden, boom, kind of chopped the legs out. It's sitting on the 50-day, and I'm kind of with you. I think it could easily just pull back to that trend line. I think if that trend line breaks, I think we'll be having a different conversation.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. But Costco is like, to me, an Apple, right? You have opportunities to buy in tranches. What's that?
Tranches.
Yes. In buckets. So look for areas where you'd like to buy and hold for the long term and parse it out, right? So you want to invest, say, 10 grand into Costco, buy in 4 or 5, 6 different lots. It's a long-term winner. Their management continues to be great, and they're cost effective, right? Like they're
Yes.
keep their consumers in mind. So
well, I think one thing that was probably good for Costco was they didn't get hit with what the rest of the retail sector did with this huge glut of inventories, right?
Yeah.
Like that was everything during the spring and summer for Target and Walmart, and just pick a name, Best Buy. Like, we bought too much shit. The consumer's not that strong. Well, guess what, guys? You might have liquidated stuff a little too early because the consumer might be a little stronger than you anticipated.
Yeah, I think that's what we're starting to see right here, is that maybe the Fed does accomplish the soft landing. Maybe not. We don't know yet. There's still a lot more data to come out and stuff. Time.
I mean, what is a soft landing?
Soft landing, in my view, is the Fed not completely breaking things every time they do stuff, right?
Sure.
And some of the moves, some of the charts are showing that they're not completely breaking, right? I think the credit markets have eased quite a bit. The mortgage market, like the rates have dropped quite a bit too. And they'll probably stabilize around here, which then people get more.
What is the 30-year at?
If rates aren't going higher, it would absolutely be a good thing for housing market for sure.
Yeah, well, people when they're not sure what's going to happen with how crazy the Fed was being, they tend to be like, okay, we'll just wait and see, right? And then if you have rates holding sideways between 5.5% to 6.5% on the 30-year mortgage, then people start feeling more comfortable relisting properties.
You mean you don't want to buy a few $100,000 worth of property when you don't know what the hell's going on in the economy?
Yeah, I think that's what you're starting to see there in that market as well. And it's still a supply shortage, so people are still looking for homes, but I think people are waiting, and prices have not come down. And I think we talked about this a while ago. Lots of, what was it, like 75% of mortgages are under 4%,
Yep.
right? Or some crazy number. People are just not going to sell. They'll just stay where they are.
Yeah. The 30-year right now is at 7.5%. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And the best part is, like, homes I've been tracking, Nick, is like, oh well, we can't sell, so we're gonna drop it. It's a like $800,000 home, and we're gonna drop it 30,000. I'm like, so you dropped it 7% while mortgage rates have doubled? Like, no, buddy, you're gonna have to drop it a lot more than that.
Well, I mean, looking at the Fed rate from the St. Louis Fed, they topped out like the first or second week in November, like right at around 7, but that's not what you get a mortgage for, right?
Yeah.
So
But let's say
that's kind of when they topped out. It actually, if I'm looking at this chart, kind of looks like a bear flag on the Fed funds rate here the federal mortgage.
You're not showing it.
You're right, I'm not. Let me pull that up, because it is a web
And
page.
that's the other thing, right? Like, people are like, okay, well, I have all this money saved for a house. Maybe I can do some other stuff with it. Maybe buy some Lululemon pants.
Yeah, right? Like, hell yeah.
So I think it's a reprioritization of the cash that they do hold.
Yeah.
There you go.
We just need stuff to start stabilizing, right? Then people can assess better.
Yeah, I think that's probably the thing, right? Once you start, it's hard to play the game when you don't know the rules of the game you're playing.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, and I know still lots of people looking for homes. They're just waiting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Instead, they're buying a nicer car or going on a nicer vacation, or while they're waiting.
I'm building a deck, or
Yeah, or improvements. Hence, if you look at the Home Depot chart.
Yeah, and Lowe's, I think Lowe's actually looks better, GP.
Yes. I just don't go to Lowe's because I never buy anything from them.
Yeah, Lowe's is not convenient for me here in Georgia, but the Lowe's chart, in my opinion, looks best.
Yeah, looks a lot better.
I like them both. All right.
There's Home Depot.
Yeah.
But they both trade together. Let's just be honest. But I kind of like the look and the structure of Lowe's a little better.
Yeah, I didn't even realize you changed companies because the charts look the same. Yeah, I can barely tell. But yeah, so if you can't sell it, you fix it.
I wonder if we'll start to see, like, perhaps like, home, like Lowe's and Home Depot perform similar to how like AutoZone and O'Reilly have performed.
Nick, that is very insightful of you. Please expand.
Well, I mean, it's O'Reilly and AutoZone are kind of indicative of, like, the do-it-yourself fixers, right? Like, they're working on their, people aren't taking their cars to like the dealership to get it worked on. Their,
right,
they're doing it. I mean, that's where you're going to go
you're
to buy
the filters, and you're putting it in yourself, right?
Right. So I'm wondering,
saves you 50% probably.
If Home Depot and like Lowe's.
So then, should you be buying Google, because everyone's YouTubing how to do this crap because no one actually knows how to do it?
I mean, probably throw it in the mix.
And with the ads that YouTube has, Jesus.
Google's chart doesn't look as bad as the others either.
It looks like an inverse head and shoulders under the 200 at the 200 moving day.
On the daily, it really does.
Shall we end with crypto?
Sure. What would you like to talk about crypto? Some Bitcoin?
I'm looking at Ethereum,
Of course you are.
and Bitcoin's doing okay.
Eh,
But
go
to
go on.
me,
You're looking at Ethereum.
yeah, so to me, this chart in general, it looks pretty good. I don't know why. I do know why, but it's hard for me to put into words. But it 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 broke down obviously earlier this year. Had a false kind of breakdown, reversed back, had a small base, and then we just came back to test the top of that base, and we're holding, right? And this is in the wake of FTX, in the wake of all the stuff that's happening with the crypto space, their crypto winter, or whatever you want to call it. This is holding up pretty damn well. And Bitcoin's kind of in the same position. And so I really like what's happening in this space. So I've actually probably the most long I've been cryptocurrency in a while.
Well, we know where Nick stands on this. It's going to zero.
No, I think, in my opinion, I think Ethereum is going to see one more leg, kind of push into like the 650 to 7, to like 8, let's just say 850 range.
There's some insane support at 1,000 for Ethereum. So yeah, if it breaks that 1,000 level, sure. But we haven't had one single close below 1,000
No, yeah, no.
on the weekly. And even here, we didn't make new lows. And this is
We
on
haven't had
the
a close
verge of,
below 1,065.
yeah, but on the verge of one of the what is bigger fraud than Enron, right? Is what people are saying.
Yes.
So on the verge of that, you still have this making higher lows.
Yeah.
So I go look at my good old Ethereum Bitcoin chart, and I don't disagree that Ethereum may have a better looking chart. But I don't know how long that's going to last. To me, when I look at this as opposed to ETH versus the USD, when I look at ETH versus BIT, it doesn't inspire me quite as much.
Yeah, okay, I can understand that. I don't do a lot of this kind of charting, so I know a bunch of people do, and it helps them, but it usually adds more confusion to me. So I don't do a lot of this stuff. But if this is something you monitor, and this is
Well,
something...
I look at it from the perspective of, you have market leader A and market leader B, right? And as you can see, I mean, since 2019, ETH has heavily outperformed Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But it's had this problem ever since it broke out in this range. And doesn't mean it's going to retrace all the way back to the bottom of the range. But when it gets up here, it's failed. Now, at some point, it's likely not to fail. Probably, I should say it's likely to not fail at some point. But I don't know when that is. And then I look at the Bitcoin dominance. This is Bitcoin versus all other cryptos.
To me, Bitcoin made a new low, and it's basing at that new low. So
yeah. So
Bitcoin looks a lot worse than Ethereum.
Currently, it does, but for how long is the point that I'm laboring to make here.
So based on, and I'm looking at volume, right? Based on like the volume patterns, I don't see as much support for Bitcoin as I do for Ethereum, and maybe that has to do with overall supply and whatever. But it's the amount of people who bought under that 1,000 level is creating a lot of support. And yes,
Sure.
Nick, if that level breaks, then yes, the floodgates can open. But as of now, on what the last 16 weeks in Ethereum, we're making higher lows.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin is
No.
making lower lows.
I'm not arguing that point at all.
Yeah. So like I'm starting to like a lot of the crypto space for trades. I don't think we're gonna see the crazy moves because people are still trepidatious with everything that's going
Great
on.
word.
What was it?
Trepidatious. That's a great word. Trepidatious.
Well, there's a lot of fraud. There's a lot of like regulation coming. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening over the next 6 to 12 months in the crypto space, if not longer. But we've talked about. I think we talked about this like a month ago. It's just like with everything that's come out, I'm surprised we're not insanely much lower.
Chainlink didn't make a new low.
Look at
Maker
Dogecoin,
didn't make
the
a new
meme
low.
coin.
Uniswap didn't make a new low. Uniswap actually looks okay.
Yep.
Aave,
Speaking of crypto,
Matic.
what are your thoughts on both coin and hood? I guess to kind of back into the equities.
Coin, I posted the chart. I think you're in the mean reversion conversation with coin.
Sure.
And once the mean reversion conversation happens, it's a conversation of what happens afterwards, right? Like, will they sell the crap out of it again? But this is your classical kind of double bottom on coin.
Yep.
You had the big bottom, big washout in April. You tried to push higher, got rejected by the declining moving averages. 4 months later, 5 months later, you came back and you're essentially trying to make a double bottom here. And if you're looking at a classical double bottom, this is what you see. I like people talk about double bottoms on like, oh, it made a double bottom a week later. I'm like, no, that's not a double bottom. That's just a bounce.
Yeah.
But like the conversation of double bottoms being a tradable double bottom, it's the ones that come back 3 to 4 months later, 5 months later, 6 months later, whatever the longer the time frame, the better, to be honest.
Yep.
And they slightly break underneath and they reverse, right? So I like coin here. I'm actually long coin.
Wow. That's a surprise.
I mean, I was thinking coin and both hood are probably a couple, like, if we're going to be talking about crypto and then as well as kind of like the banks, finance in general, I think you got to include both coin and hood in that
I agree,
conversation and portfolio there.
But hood's been in my portfolio ever since it's been in this.
Sure.
So like I don't even really look at hood because I'm like, I like it's gonna have its things because it's hated and it's loved. It's hated and it's loved. And that
I was going to say I actually like hood's chart a little better than coins right now.
Yeah. Agree. No, I still like coins better because coin actually has the double bottom. Hood could make a double bottom here, right? Like hood could see some further weakening for whatever stupid reason news comes out to make that double bottom, whereas coin is already.
Well, I was going to say the thing I don't like about hood is SBF's investment into hood. Kind of. I don't know where that stands. I haven't looked, haven't read. But he was involved with hood for a minute. So I don't know. That could be your news right there, GP.
Yeah, it could be something comes out and we finally get the double bottom test, right? Because I think that's where if we go back to the lows of hood in this base, I'm probably going to be adding to the position.
So just below $7 or just around $7.
Yeah, I'm in just under 10, so like I'm almost break even or whatever.
Anywhere in the sevens would be a great place to probably add.
Yeah, I think I'm like 920 or something like that. Nothing crazy. I don't even, like I said, I don't even look at it anymore because it's just in its basing accumulation pattern, in my opinion. So
I think if you got a shot at 45 again on coin, you take it.
Yeah, so my stop was 44, right? Entry around 40, 45, and stop was 44. I thought the risk to rewards situation, this is not like I believe in coin and I think it's gonna do awesome, and this is a trade, right? This is not a, so the
Yeah,
stop.
this is not a forever hold, I don't
Yeah.
think, right? Like this is something that you want to get in, get out.
Yeah, and it has that potential of mean reversion to the 50-day, which is around like 57, 56, somewhere around there.
Yeah, 50.
And I would be
55,
surprised to
64.
see an easy
Okay.
double from here back to the 200 day. I mean, the 200 days overhead about 92.
Yeah, that's
It
possible too,
certainly
but Nick,
wouldn't
one level at a time.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I don't think that happens in 1 week, but it's coin. It can. Look at that bar from like July. It
Yeah,
went from
I
60 to
mean,
120.
ideally, I think you could get a double out of it. I think you could get right back up to that 100 level
Yeah.
from here.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't know if I'm going to be around that long.
No, I mean that's a place where even if it gets into the 80s, like that's where you got to be thinking like I got to be trimming some out with the way the market's been, and how long do I want to be in this, right? Like it's the whole managing of your portfolio at that point.
Yeah, and this is a trade. It's not a portfolio addition. So
Right.
Because I just don't believe in them.
So
right.
So I'm saying from 9.99 here on Hood, like wouldn't be crazy to think that could get up to $15. It's got to break that 12 area first, but wouldn't be crazy to think that this could be $15 again.
No, and it's not that expensive, to be honest, either.
No.
Yeah. So like Schwab and stuff like that trade actually more
Goldman.
expensive.
Yeah.
No.
All right,
So,
guys.
yeah,
Well, this
I
was
like-
fun. I liked ending the show with a little crypto chat. Kind of made me feel better about myself today.
I like some of the crypto names. I don't know what it is about it. It's just maybe gut feeling or not, but it's not doing what I was expecting it to do after such a big fraud, right? Like he was basically taking other people's money and doing what he wanted with it. So why he's not in jail yet, I have no clue. But
yeah, it's kind of
like
it's kind of ridiculous.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, I just would have expected a bigger collapse from the entire space.
Maybe it's somewhat indicative of what's to come.
I was waiting on. Wait. How do you mean, Nick?
As in, like, we know that crypto is the future. I think everybody, in some capacity, on how that plays out, we don't know. And again, like we're still kind of in the early stages of crypto. Like it's not surprising to see something like this happen. Like I think we needed it to happen.
It's good for crypto. It's regulation, right?
Absolutely.
It legitimizes their space.
Yeah.
And
totally.
to me, where I was literally just having this conversation with a friend, his wife is an artist and she's been doing a lot of NFT work, and so he's into the crypto space, and I was talking to him about it. I was like, my conversation is crypto is the future. The question is whether currencies will be the future or not, right? It could be a completely different mode. It could be just a public company that utilizes crypto in a way that we couldn't even think of right now.
For sure.
So I don't even know if currencies are going to be the one, like cryptocurrencies, I mean, are going to be the ones that are the winners.
We could spend another hour discussing this alone.
Sure, of course.
Yeah. No, I'm not cutting you off. I'm just saying, like, if we could spend an entire hour on.
Yeah.
on this.
So, like, the conversation we're having was like, the internet didn't start in 2000. It started way before that.
Al Gore did it.
Huh?
Al Gore invented the internet.
Yeah, well, sure, okay. Was that Twitter verified?
Gonna fact check that.
Was it a community? Um, but what I mean is like crypto's been around a long time already, right? But internet was around a long time for a while too, and then in the Y2K stuff is what really accelerated the line of internet. But what became the winners of the internet bubble are not even close to what we could have imagined. Did we think that cloud was going to be the winner? Not in 2000.
Yeah.
So like we don't know. So the regulation, this oversight and stuff that's going to happen over the next few years is actually good for that space. And that what I think, Nick, what the oversight ultimately ends up being is what will decide what the winners are.
Yeah, I would agree for sure. And largely like and how I think it'll become more clear in because like our concept of money, right? And currency at this, I don't know, time in history is like we think of it as like our our wealth, like how we barter our time for money, and like we look at it as like paper currency, where I don't know, yeah, with the crypto stuff, like, and I got it's gonna completely change the way I think that we look and think about money. And I think we are going to move away from a society of like, I know that there's people think that we're going towards like the Hunger Games, like the straight haves and have nots. I think we're moving more towards like an abundant society where there's really not going to be a need. Like if people aren't gonna, I don't know.
What I can tell you is the financial institutions are not disappearing because
For
of
sure.
crypto, right?
Right.
Goldman Sachs was founded in 1869. I won't guarantee it, but I can pretty much assume that if cryptocurrency is going to be the future of currency or whatever, then Goldman Sachs is going to be leading that effort.
Right. They're going to be involved in some.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it's when they start working together is when we see the final byproduct.
Yeah.
Just one man's opinion.
Wow.
All right, homies. We went a little over. I appreciate the extra session. It was good chat. Nick, thanks for not shitting all over my crypto dreams, and it was great to not have you be like, oh, it's a scam.
No, definitely not.
But no, I'm just messing with you, Nick. Yeah, we missed you. We're glad you're back with us. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. Blessings to you, and hope your family gets a speedy recovery too.
Thank you.
GP, thank you as always, my brother. Same to you. Blessings to your family.
Yes, thank you. Same to you, bud.
But yeah, we've teased this the last couple times, but we might be getting together to do this like an in-person pod at some point in the future. And
so I'm pretty sure I haven't booked my flights, but my wife has booked her flights, so I should be in Atlanta.
Nick,
Exciting.
we're gonna have to get you on a plane.
Yeah, man.
Let's chat offline.
What are the sounds good.
All right, guys.
right.
Thanks for joining us on another Sunday. Thanks to everybody who listened. Justin M, thanks for popping in the chat. We always like when people are in a chat. But without further ado,